Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kentoni. I'm trying to work on the camera. Just give us a second. Anne needs to give me the rights. Just a second. Yes, but as we do that, thank you. I'm Alex Rorie, and I hope very soon I will show up on camera. And indeed, as Anne has mentioned, we had another meeting with the team last year. We had a good session, and we had a conversation that I hope most of you were able to listen to. And I'm hoping from there we shall pick up and show what we have lined up for the year. And it should be an exciting period, because we obviously have looked at the issues that a lot of us struggle with or have questions around. And we have put content onto what we expect for the year. So today we'll just be discussing the first of various sessions. And this is obviously very exciting, because our research shows it's one of the greatest concerns everybody has. And I'm hoping that once we are through with these particular sessions, and in fact, this one, we'll put a picture into what we expect going forward through the year. And we believe that once we have gone through these sessions, we should see a lot of success, translating not just to you, but into your families. You'll be able to extend the knowledge and into your, your networks. You will extend that knowledge, and will create what I would say a ripple effect around around our continent. So we are very interested in making sure this information is beneficial, factual, is something that you can execute yourself. Some people have obviously been able to find this information. Thank you very much, team. Some people have been able to implement the information that we have shared, and we can tell the changes that have happened to a lot of people because of the conversations that we have had, especially because the background through which we bring this information is a professional standard. We have looked at this information from, what the CFA Institute would have you know, but then we have also compared it with what my good friend Bob Iger, chair of Disney, I've read a lot from what he says, and it's very true. You've got to make it not just foolproof in terms of well captured, but also FOOL. That means even the simplest person should be able to listen to the information and be able to implement it, and it should be beneficial to them. So today, what we are going to talk about, our consideration today is a very key topic, which is financial wellness. And I will start, obviously, by introducing our company briefly, and we appreciate the opportunity to actually have this conversation, because you could choose to do a few other things. But we don't only appreciate it because of your time here, but because of the impact it will create, from yourself and to a lot of other people, because we have actually seen it. So I will start by sharing a presentation as well, always, which should help you work through the information that I'm sharing. I know we have all of about 40 minutes to be able to cover the information, but I hope you can put on chat whatever information you find you need clarity on. But also, we are going to share a workbook that you can work on yourself as we go through the various sessions. So let me share so that we can start. I know we had some technical start there, but we are good. That is expected. So this is a collaboration between ourselves and Safaricom Sacco, because the Sacco identified that, and it is true, if you don't have the education, then you can't execute the things that you are needed to execute. So the part that we are bringing in here is partly the education to allow people to execute things they need to do. We are all very educated, but the training tends to be to very few people. And that's why when we look at data, we can tell there is information, but which information should I actually utilize? So thank you to the team at Safaricom, the leadership, and to you who has tuned in, because this is our chance to build a different future and improve from where we see. So just as a start, of course, Moran Capital, we are a licensed firm by ICIFA, that is the Institute of Certified Investments and Financial Analysts. That's very important because it says you either know what you're talking about. That's important. We are licensed as an advisory firm, and also by the IRA, the Insurance Regulatory Authority, because part of the things we talk about are risk management, and that's important to be sure that there's a regulator who knows that you know what you're talking about. But again, having started our journey in 2011, we've talked to a lot of executives, trustees. We talked to families. Today we're having, a conversation with a family. And after building all your wealth, you want to make sure that it meets the objective of the family. And that is to create wellness for the family. It's not just building assets. It's what do assets do? And our service is a best-in-class service. As I've mentioned, there is a standard we must meet, and we've ensured that our information is provided at a very high standard in terms of regulatory compliance and being relevant. Our areas of expertise, numerous. We do investment advisory, which is within wealth management, but most people understand us as an investment advisory firm. But we are a family office that creates all these solutions. So wealth management encompasses all these options, which is your private equity, structuring, how you invest in companies which, you don't necessarily manage all the time. We also do stock trading. We advise on risk management. That is all lines of insurance, professional insurance, personal insurance, which is both general, that means for your property, and your life insurance. Very important things. And talking, do you need, how much coverage do I need? That's important. We also advise on real estate. Where should I be investing? How much should I get? And those kind of things. Retirement planning. How do I enjoy my retirement? How do I forecast how much I will need for retirement? We also deal with succession planning. How do I make sure there are people to manage my assets after I leave? And estate planning, who gets what? Those are two different things. As well as tax advisory, making sure that you're just paying what is necessary and not what is extra, but also making sure that you are compliant by paying what is necessary. So just looking at those things, that is an area we really concentrate on, those things, to make sure that you have a proper balance. And of course, our clients are happy because we provide expertise, we provide personalized services, we are independent, we are not subject to any particular company. We look at what is the best for our clients holistically. I'm not trying to sell any product to anybody. We are trying to connect you to a solution which helps you get traction on the area you are trying to improve on. We look at flexible product ranges because we have people who have very high net worth, others who are starting second generation. So we look at how do we enable everybody from wherever they are. And we look at very attractive returns in whatever currencies. And we ensure that you've done your risk management by looking at how to provide the service you expect. Most people don't know, I want to go to Aga Khan Pavilion. They don't describe that when I'm looking for medical, or say, I want to be in Nairobi Hospital in this section, or can I actually have what you call evacuation, that if I am taken for medical to the UK, I need my spouse to visit with me and travel with me. Those are details people don't come up with initially, but we are able to question and see, are those things that you need? I have a good team. Obviously, governance is important. So we have a well-balanced team. of people who have been in the industry for over 30 years in every area: risk management, pensions, real estate, managing, audit, and those kind of areas. And we have a good team in that area who give us service, just to show you that. Now, for what we need to discuss today is financial wellness, but we have a 10-course module we'll be taking through for the year. And thank you for the team for bringing this. So today we are talking about financial wellness as part of the course that we will be going through. And we have that workbook, which will start asking you questions as to where you are on the journey to financial wellness. So we'll talk about financial goal setting, debt management, budgeting, principles of investments and looking at investment options. We'll look at real estate options and where do they fit in. We look at your risk management. We look at succession and estate planning. We look at how do we navigate the landscape in Kenya on tax. Very many things have happened from last year to this year. We need to figure them out, as well as retirement planning. Now, what is financial wellness? Because we've talked about it, but what is financial wellness? Now, financial wellness obviously, defines a state in which you can meet your obligations. Now, financial wellness just moves away from just being money to the ability to afford the things that give you total wellness. So it's not just the money. Money is one thing, but the ability to afford all these things is very important. What are we looking to do? Financial wellness gives you the ability to look for solutions to bring balance to your spiritual wellness. Whether I support people, I pay my tithes, I take care of issues in church, my emotional wellness, that means I'm not stressed. That is very important because, as you can see, the largest cause of stress is financial stress, which then comes into emotional stress. So finance is a construct of every particular facet of your wellness, your general wellness. And your general wellness includes, obviously, your intellectual wellness, whether you can read and improve your knowledge, whether you can go to the gym or go to Karura and walk, your physical wellness, whether you have the proper medical services. This financial wellness is not just about money. It's the ability to afford your total wellness, your social wellness. Can you meet the obligations that are required of you socially, taking care of parents and extended family, philanthropy? And do you have environmental wellness as well? You're not abusing the environment. How are you using your resources to make sure that you can take care of the environment? So it is feeling secure in your financial future and letting you make the choices that let you enjoy life. That really is the objective of financial wellness. How can I make sure that I can enjoy life? And what are these things that I need to have to enjoy life? That is what you're seeing on screen there. A research by Champion Health says, obviously, financial pressure, an inability to meet this obligation is the largest cause of stress to people, actually greater than bereavement and the thought of death. Financial pressure is actually a greater concern than death itself. So people have caring responsibility, parenting, caring of children, caring for children, relationships, but financial pressure, the inability to meet these obligations of, having your wellness in place is a key concern. So being well in these areas removes the preoccupation with money primarily. Now, I know many of you are feeling confused. You're like, I thought it's about money. No, money is one of the things that are required for you to be well, but resources to allow you to have this balance are what really are important. Some statistics we looked at, especially in the UK, and this is the West, so you'd think they are more successful. Over 1.5 million people are experiencing debt and mental health problems. You have seen mental health as a major challenge around the world, but a lot of it is obviously caused by financial pressure. And they say 24 million adults don't feel confident managing their money. because they don't know whether they can make the choices to help them be balanced well. Financial wellness is not something they know how to balance. And a third of the people are in debt, and they need to receive help in that area. And you find half of them have problem debt and mental health. Now, debt causes mental health. So if you don't manage debt properly, it will cause mental health. And that is a statistic that we can see is increasing. Now, you find 40% of the people who have mental health say it worsens because of financial circumstances. So money just has this impact. Lacking balance in your financial management creates this imbalance. And female employees are more likely, 33% more likely to experience financial stress than male colleagues. That is largely because they are more connected to the various facets. At least gentlemen think of one thing, but ladies are aware a lot more things going on around them. And for that reason, they are more likely to experience financial stress. And those statistics really are there. And the age group of 35 to 44 and the 25 to 34, these people who have just started accumulating resources, they tend to show greater susceptibility to financial pressure. Now, what are these issues causing people stress? Making sure that we communicate about these issues is one of those areas that will help you be aware what could be causing stress. And that's not taking charge or control of your money. It seems to be other people's obligations or other obligations all over the place. I don't know who's giving you pressure for money. I keep saying, if we were all to pay our debts, who is it that would pay? Because the bank owes somebody money. We owe somebody money. The government owes somebody money. America owes somebody money. China owes somebody money. Who is this that we all owe money? And do we need to take control of our money because somebody is taking our money? We don't know who this somebody is. Some of us don't have a clear vision. And that means that resources come into you and they get drained and you feel like I'm going nowhere. What is the vision for yourself and your family? Very important. A lot of us living beyond our means, right? Because you come into an organization and you realize some people who've been there for 10 years have done some amazing things, but you have to go for lunch with them, or you have to go for golf with them, or you have to go for an event with them, and suddenly you want to match up. I have experience of where I had a colleague who said he will surprise the CEO with the kind of car he will drive. He was going to buy a very expensive car. And I said, how do you believe that's a good thing, surprising the CEO with your good car? You know, if you are running your own company, that would be a good thing. But if you're employed and you're threatening your employer with your good car, then maybe we have things right. You're living beyond your means. And then excessive debt, paying for things that we cannot afford by credit cards. And I see this very challenging to a lot of people because we don't plan for short, medium, and long term. We try to buy everything now because we want everything now, the gratification. This is something we need to manage so that you know you are working within your resources and you have the resource of time. People only work with the resource of money, the resources I have now. But remember, you have time. From when you are 20, you had some goals. Now you are 30, you are 40, you are 60, you will have different goals. Can you imagine if you tried to achieve everything at once? We say don't live too much in the future. Live in the present as well, knowing the future is coming. A lot of people commit their income to upgrading lifestyles. The moment, obviously, you get into a nice job, you immediately want everybody to notice that things have changed. You want to change where you buy your meat, change where you go to hang out, change what you drive. So you upgrade your lifestyle before you have the resources to really upgrade it permanently. You don't realize that your income growth is tied to your performance. So ability to manage resources now allows you to have more resources. So some people don't realize that you need to grow your responsibility with your resources. So ability to show responsibility on managing current resources allows you to get more resources. That is not only biblical, but even in a company, you want to look at the people who are able to manage the resources and multiply them. And those are the people you give more resources. Anybody who comes to you empty-handed, you really are resisting giving them any more resources. Then you have constant firefighting. This is a mistake people are doing. They don't budget for how much is my firefighting budget in the case there are family obligations. I don't know how many of you have sat with your significant other and said, listen, if this is my earning 100% of my net, we are only from a combined household, or even if you're single using your own resources, you must say, I will only give up to 5% for all the emergencies in the world, because I have to be available to deal with more emergencies next month, next year, next decade. So some people are overwhelmed by the demand to firefight for themselves or for other people. Are you managing those emergencies which other people bring upon you? Have you catered for them by making sure you have the proper risk management? You know, your phone is grabbed on the street. What do you do? Did you have insurance? I mean, these kind of things, you need to deal with them so that you're not fighting with a guy who grabbed your phone and he ends up with you in an alley giving you punches on all your teeth and removing an eye and probably walk away with a leg. Why do you want to be in that spot? Instead of saying, you know what, just take the phone. I don't need to follow you into some dark alley. I have managed that inefficiency by making sure I have insurance or something like that. Some people obviously are dogged by procrastination. So you'll find that a lot of us know what we need to do, but we don't execute. So you'll find a year later, you knew what you needed to do to improve the scenario. You did not do it. Now, the way to manage that, of course, is create an accountability partnership with somebody, or either friendly or professional. We do that to make sure whatever you said you would do to get you where you want to go, there is an accountability which allows you to get there, and not just you getting ahead of yourself. Don't be the problem on your own journey. Some people have wrong internal beliefs, and this stops their wellness. They think, I cannot be the CEO. I cannot be successful. I cannot, save money. I can only consume. Nobody in my family saved. I've never heard of a successful person or woman or young man or something. You have these wrong internal beliefs. Everybody is born to be great. And that's why God created all these other people, so that they can allow you have their experience, expertise. It could be colleagues in your office. It could be friends elsewhere. It could be professionals. They can help you deal with the self-limiting beliefs that could be holding you down from achieving your greatness. Other people are in a never-ending rat race. They have overcommitments, over-mortgaged, over-vehicled, over-TV'd, over-watched, over-phoned. The commitments, today, there's now iPhone 15. You don't know that maybe your friend gets it from somebody in the UK who normally buy phones on a contract basis. Very easy to buy an iPhone 15. But then you find in Kenya, you have to buy that phone and maybe it's $2,000-$3,000. You have to take that out from an amount you're not budgeted. But because somebody has it, you then join that group by making sure you spend whatever savings you had. Allow yourself the room to be yourself at your own time. Don't be you or be somebody else now. Try to stagger that and make sure, what's my plan? I, for example, want to buy a yacht one day in my life. I mean, why not? But it's not going to be anytime soon. It will be in a few years. I suspect by the time I am 50-something and I really want to travel, I will have the temptation to get a yacht, because why not? But not now. I will not go and try and park it somewhere in, some very small pond because I can't even afford parking fees, or even a plane. Why not get a private jet? But why are you getting it now? Can you even hire a pilot? Can you do these things? Can you sustain it? Do I have the investments to sustain that? Or at one time it will run out of fuel and park it, and Kenya Airports Authority will be sending me some major bill, and I wonder why I had to do this. Don't get stuck in overcommitting yourself. Know when it is the right time. Short-term orientation. Right now, you need to do things right now. Don't have that temptation. Understand tomorrow there'll be a new model of what you think is very good. There's a time we used to see this Range Rover called the HSC. Back in the days, 20 years ago, it was there. Now we are 20 years later and they're saying the best has come out. I tell you 5 years from now, 10 years from now, they'll tell you we have the best version. I don't know, it's electric and can fly itself. It can sense, there's a matatu coming and duck into the expressway. There will always be new things coming up. So don't need to consume what is there now, because even tomorrow they'll have better. And don't be stuck in plans of others. Hey, tuende hapa, let's do this. The world is moving in this direction. Let's do quails. Let's do, I don't know, what's the next thing. I'm yet to test whether this new dragon fruit will be a sustained demand. But, there's a lot of people getting carried away with what other people are planning. But don't be left holding the monkey. Go and read about being left holding the monkey. Don't be the one who's left holding the monkey. If you don't understand the joke is normally on you. And your friends could be making money by selling stuff, and then you believe, hey, let's all go and buy plots in this location. What you don't know is maybe your friend is part of the brokerage group in selling this property. So are you very sure why you're buying a property? Are you very sure why you're buying anything? Why you are involved in a transaction? Are you sure how it benefits you? That is very important. And also, I talked about the too much house and too much car. I noticed that we have somebody who has put up his hand, and maybe I want to take a question. Can he take a question? Okay. If not, you can put your question on the Q&A, because then we can answer that. I see you have put up your question. I recognize that. If you can put it on the Q&A, I'll be very happy to answer that question, or on chat as they enable that space. Okay. We can put that on chat, right? Right. So Susan, can I just get feedback that we are okay? Maybe somebody's trying to raise me that I'm not audible, or I've lost you.
Okay? I think we are okay. We are okay, yes. You're very audible. We can hear you clearly.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that I don't move without clarity on that. So why this financial wellness matters, having all that balance, is because your overall well-being, as you have seen, is very important. And financial wellness, being able to manage those affairs, is very key in ensuring that we contribute to a higher quality of life. Yourself, you are in charge of contributing to your higher quality of life and your self-fulfillment, feeling that I can see the value of what I am doing. How many of us can see the value of what you're doing from 20 years ago? I tell you, I can actually see what I did with money 20 years ago. I see it today. I have invested, or I have lost some, but the reality is, can you see the value of what you have done? Do you feel fulfilled? Or do we need to put a hard stop to what is going on and make sure the next 10 years you can be happy that you have been able to put together your resources in a way that they are working for you? Do you have emergency preparedness? That is another issue of having that contingent environment, making sure that you have an emergency fund, you have sound financial planning, which allows you to handle unexpected issues, your COVID and those kind of issues, other things that can destabilize you, changes in the job environment. Can you have something that allows you to have emergency preparedness, so that if somebody else walks in and says, hey, you're going to step down, you don't go and stick a knife on the side of your vehicle and draw some X's and write there wanted, because you feel like the person has attacked you personally. But it is because also maybe you are not prepared. I work with people who are very senior in organizations with their children in very expensive schools. So if they were told to step down from the organization, hey, so they slave and work, and we all want to work hard. But a lot of the conversations, when I start them, they are not prepared to leave the organization because they are not having reserves or strategies to maintain the lifestyle that they already have. And that's good to have a good lifestyle. but you don't have the capacity to maintain it. So we want to make sure you are prepared so that even if there was an emergency, a redundancy, a change, anything that happened, you are able to observe and absorb it. Can you meet your long-term goals? Are you sure that you can meet the education, the home ownership, the travel plans, the retirement plans, and the generational impact you want to create? If you can't, talk to us. We will help you do that. Not everybody starts out with that information in mind. And I can tell you a lot because I also do a bit of family counseling. A lot of the conflict is around that area because I don't have clarity. Anybody who asks me, Kata Shingo, I will get rid of you. I will block you, either listening to you or I'll block you from my emotions or make sure I avoid you completely because I can't answer those questions. To help you in that space, we can obviously discuss that space and also to reduce debt. Now, a lot of people have believed that, there's this story of using other people's money. So taking debt, they believe it is good. And I think they confuse it with leveraging, being very clear that if I borrowed 100,000, I will make 150,000 so that I can pay back the 100 and I can benefit from 54 I didn't have, or however much. So are you very clear how that works? Or you're doing consumption where, you just buy items, the next bigger thing, the bigger car, the bigger TV, the bigger lifestyle. We will go for Safari Rally for sure. Are we sure we are using the resources correctly? That is something that you want to make sure. Remove the high interest, which consumes your resources, but build in the leverage, which builds your resources. I'm sure the SACCO has a lot of resources. They can help you leverage and do useful things with it. So debt is really not the problem. It's your understanding of the difference between consumption and leverage. Now, something else that we really want to talk about, wellness. A lot of people don't understand where they or their partners fit in their understanding of your strength and limitation in managing resources. Some people are better off just saying, I don't know how to manage. Let us just make the money. You manage it for me, my spouse, or somebody else. They don't understand why is it I have challenges managing money. There is something in psychology we call heuristics and biases. That means depending on the way you are brought up, there is a way you think money should be managed. Incidentally, that's not how everybody else manages money. So you'll find that there is discord because you are different in characteristic on the left and different in the way you are brought up on the right here. So on the left, you will see things which are psychological. You're a choleric. That means I think hard and fast. I make decisions quickly. Now that's good for emergency situations. But when you really need to think about the long term, you need to slow down a bit and involve somebody else who can do the calculations. So cholerics are essentially people who make hard and fast decisions on their feet thinking. Fantastic. Most CEOs fall in that category. Then you have people who are melancholic. These are people who essentially are very calculating, perfectionists. They need everything to fit in, and they will not move until that decision has been made. Which one are you? And make sure that if you are with a choleric, you need to know what character that is. You also need to understand who's a sanguine. These are people who are sunshiny, very happy, generally, even though finances are running amok, they are still happy, they are still having nice drinks, but they just live for happiness. Now, at some point, it will catch up that the happiness needs to be funded from somewhere. So your wellness is about being balanced. You'll find people who are phlegmatic, and indeed, those who are phlegmatic will not make decisions at all because of fear or other repercussions, because you'll find they need to read all the T's and need to be crossed, I's need to be dotted. These are lawyers, accountants, people who are artistic and really need to read all the details, or the mistakes will be overwhelming. So knowing where you fit in allows you to understand that I don't need to manage everybody else, and I'm not wrong and they're not wrong. We need to bring our knowledge and characters together to actually work on agreed goals in timelines that we have agreed. So don't try to push everybody, or don't let everybody push you because they want to make decisions quickly or you want to think through. You should find a balance because we are made in very different ways. We also have what on your right there is what you call the heuristics. This is the way you are brought up. Are you fast thinking because your family, everybody, you are brought up as 27 children. I have one of my clients has 27 children. So even when food is put on the table, you need to have spotted which is your piece. And by the time people say amen, there is it's a hawkish situation. Everybody's grabbing. So you find that space, there's a lot of competition. So that person going into the world is competitive. Are those people, do you make conscious or unconscious decisions? Are you aware of what you're doing? Or do you do things automatically, or you have a lot of effort to achieve anything? Are you error prone or are you reliable? Now, all these things are managed by having a plan. Wellness is having a plan, because I've put there Genesis 1:31, and it says, remember, we are a family office, we are a faith-based institution. So we read this and we know that it is also making a lot of sense. It says, and God looked at everything he had made, and behold, he said it was good. He validated it completely. So if your partner says, or you say that the other person is, not good in the way they do their things, remember, somebody thought they were validated, right? And it's, as you say at the bottom there, it's never too early or too late to work towards a healthy financial state. Irrespective of your character, it can be managed through this kind of space. And that is for you to be well, irrespective of who you are. Align these issues. 3 issues money needs to do, and we'll discuss it regularly so that there's a reminder. Having a clear understanding of all your income does is manage expenditure. And that's your contingencies, making sure we have that reserve for, emergencies, school fees in the future. In the event there was a bereavement, how do we manage that? Very important. Then there is also the issue of managing operations. Every day we've got to buy gas, do our hair, fuel the car, pay for maintenance. Where are these resources? These are conversations that if you are the head of the house, or you're the partner in the house, you're making sure you're having these conversations in an orderly manner. People just don't have order to arrange these things, and they're only in these 3 baskets here. Operationally, how do we run every day? Who pays for what? Very important. So that, and when do we pay? Right? So these operations, do we pay every single day? Bills discussed every day? Or can we agree bills are discussed every 2 weeks? We are going to meet, so that not every conversation is a money conversation. I need to talk about spirituality. I need to talk about health. I need to talk about my emotions. So it's not every meeting is about money. Make sure you do that. You understand, when do we talk about it? Having that operational excellence. And then there's discussions on growth. How are we going to grow? So you should have meetings that manage all these conversations. How are we going to grow? Where are we growing to? What are we growing to? As a couple, as a family, as an individual, where do I want to go? Do I want income from my investments in the future, which are 500,000 in income a month, 1 million, 10 million? What is it? And where will it come from? Those are really the things that will get you well, because you have ordered them properly. This here is just to tell you, opportunity is rife in Africa because there's a big population. That's a very big thing. We have 40% of the world's natural resources. We have a good, sustainable demographic. Under 30, we are 60% of the population. We are well educated, and we are quickly urbanizing, and accelerated technological change. This all means so much business is available. Now, the problem is we have a hard time holding on to our wealth because we don't have structure. So structure yourself, and you will definitely find that we can help you step into the success that you want to be, because the resources to do that are available. They just require a properly structured vehicle, and you will be well because the resources are available and the opportunities obviously are there to generate those resources. Knowing very well, of course, there's a crisis every so often. Make sure that your wellness is not thrown off because of regular crisis. We have supply chain crisis right now because of the Gaza conflict. We have issues because of Ukraine and Russia. We have issues all over, but issues have always been there. For us as analysts, we understand that you do trend analysis. What happened in the future has a possibility of recurring externally. So how do I protect myself internally so that if there was another shock, I can still take care of my key asset, which is my human resource, my people, and those kind of things. I want to make sure that I'm very clear on that. So which habits should I build? Start by saving your income, okay? So that at least 50 to 60% is what goes into expenditure. I save the rest. So I can save maybe 40, 50%. Identify your needs versus your wants very carefully. Now, if you can't do these things, we can help you. We have the templates. There will be a template sent to you after this, which can help you work out those kind of things, creating a budget on that basis, knowing very well, where does my money go? Don't let the rain come and then run off from your property. If I was to put it that way as a farmer, be able to hold a dam where resources can sit. And the only way to do that is creating a budget so that you know how much do I need in reserve to manage my medium and long-term expenses. Very key things that you want to take care of. Living below your means. These are very important things. And it's only for a time. Because if you are able to save and say, okay, now I have hit my goal, I have all the time to blow things up. You know, a lot of people find that, you know, I've gotten to 60, now I have all the resources, but the health has caught up with me because I tried to achieve too quickly and I was consuming everything that I shot myself maybe 20 years short in life because of what I was doing when I was younger. Allow yourself to live within your means to allow you to live the long life that you need. Do away with impulse purchases. I will accelerate because I can see the time is far gone. Plan and save for your wants. Of course, we all want the good things. Plan and save for them. Don't use your principal income to pay for wants. Take your principal, invest it, use investment income to manage the wants and some high ticket purchases. Don't give people money expecting them to return if you don't want to lose that money. Just be honest and say, you know, let me work out around what I can give you versus what I will spend the rest of my time taking you to small claims court. We will lose our friendship. We will have issues. Give what you can and don't lend if you're not happy to lose that amount. Make sure you track your expenditures. There's a lot of apps that track expenditure so that you can know where your money is going. Have a monthly review meeting with your significant other to see, you know, your budget versus your expenditure, as well as stick to that budget. Now, this is easier said than done. So accountability partnership is very important, and that will help you. And depending on which character you are, you know who you can turn to make sure you are controlling that. So we are trying to figure how many of us even attending this session. We are 244 odd. And how many of us have a surplus at the end of the year? Maybe just by a show of hand, just raise and say, you know what, every month to month, I'm able to have a surplus. Maybe just, thank you. Those who have a surplus, yeah, fantastic. Yes, I have a surplus, fantastic. Yes, we do have. So when we look at the ratios of how many will eventually say, I have a surplus, you'll find that it's not too many. Is it an objective that you have made? Maybe you need to ask your colleagues, how is it you have a surplus? Maybe that's a good thing to emulate other people. For sure, it's somewhere that you can start. Ask people, do you have a surplus and how do you manage it? And if you don't find somebody, come and will help you figure out how to have a surplus. The reality is maybe 75, 80% don't have, and that's why debt is a major issue. So in terms of process, what do you do towards getting financially well? So first, assess yourself and become aware of where you are, taking stock of your current situation, assess your assets and liabilities, see where you are. Secondly, set goals. This is where I want to be. Sometimes you may not have even set that goal. So I am here, I want to be here. So can I plan for that gap? So we do budgeting and planning for how we get there. So a detailed budget of where resources are going and making sure you allocate funds to those things you think are important. That is a very, very simple area to start. And monitor and adjust those expenses so that you can stay on track. Allocating funds essentially to what you really think is most important to you. Make sure you have a good debt management plan, and that means how do I exit the various debts, or do I consolidate, or do I communicate in the event I'm in a difficult situation? So prioritize which ones you need to remove, and you can even sit with us. We can help you think through how to manage that situation. You can go to the SACCO and say, I want to reorganize my situation. How do I do that? Do not lie down or hide under the carpet, unaware of how to deal with the situation. A lot of times people don't get a solution because they don't ask. The people who gave you money need to lend more or want to make sure that it is secure from your position. So if you have a conversation with them, they'll be able to tell you how to restructure, reorder, or manage your resources better at a debt level. Then saving and investment, and we will discuss these things at length through the various 10 sessions. Save now, save early, start with something, even though it's small, save 5,000, 2,000, start the habit. You will soon find that it's a big number. We have people who ask, hey, where did this money come from? I never had 12 million in my account ever, but they were saving 200,000, 150,000, blah, blah. The next thing, they have money which they have never seen in their account. So don't worry where to start, just start. Finally, build in protection so that, of course, if some of these things don't work out, you have life insurance so that if something happens to you, your family can have a fallback option. So you know that I'm okay. In the event I don't, live the full life, there will be something for the family. In the event I get, my things robbed, I don't need to start having a fight in the middle of Nairobi and get shot. I can manage that situation and make sure your cover is adjusted to your life changes so that maybe today you're a junior, you have this starting out cover, and I am happy to be in the public section of the hospital. If your circumstances change and say, hey, now put me in this other section, I want international and those kind of things. Be aware of those kind of things and ask for them. So I want to move on to this area. Finally, you do your retirement plan so that you don't work so long and then you don't have resources to take care of you in your 30 years after work. And make sure those resources that you make have somewhere to be parked. Your family is not fighting for it. Make sure you have order. Talk to them regularly. Call for family summits. We normally work with families because we are a family office. We normally bring people to a family summit. We have discussions, very in-depth, very tough discussions. But because we have the experience, we are able to sort out the questions people have. Who needs to be promoted? Who needs to do this? Who's taking the shares? Who's being in management? So those conversations around succession and estate planning, if you have a business or you're just talking about your family, various instruments can help you sort that out. And review and adjust accordingly regularly because circumstances are changing. So that is the way you make sure you're well and you have the resources to do that. I'm sure at the SACCO, there are people who would help to do that. Ourselves, we are professionals. We can help you sort that out and make sure that you're not struggling with what you're not an expert. Be good at what you're good at, and what you are not aware of or what you want to be aware of, ask somebody who can help you. That person who's succeeding, managing resources elsewhere very successfully, get in touch and we will also help you ride out that space, and you will be well because the resources are available to help you do that. So I will take a hard stop there, and then I can look at the questions so that we are also on good time. I don't take too much of your day. Thank you for committing your time thus far. So I think, Anne, I can take the questions. Would you prefer that I answer the questions, or how would you like us to start that session? I can see some posted on chat and others on the Q&A. Maybe there are some you want us to discuss specifically.
Thank you, Alex, for the wonderful presentation. I think I'll read out the questions for you, then you
Okay.
can answer. That way we'll have control on what to discuss today.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so you can read out the ones you can see there. Let me know which ones you need us to answer. I'll be happy to do that.
Okay, so anything to do with our topic for today will be good. So I'll start with I'll not mention names. Our very first question is, how do you motivate yourself to keep committed to your financial goals?
Okay. Would you like me to answer one by one?
Yes, or can I read 2, 3, then you?
Yes, maybe so that we cover good ground.
So that we can save on time. Okay, fine. So the first one goes, how do you motivate yourself to keep committed to your financial goals? Number 2, kindly explain the last question, too much house, car, or school. Number 3,
Okay.
is it advisable to borrow loan to invest? To borrow loan to invest in Lingari
Ah, you want to
term
late.
savings like treasury bonds. There is a
All right.
narrative that I have heard from my colleagues
Yes.
that it's better to take a loan to build a portfolio than after loan payment you will have a ready portfolio. I have been so hesitant with that. I don't know if that's something someone can do. So can
Okay.
answer those 3.
Brilliant. Okay. Thank you. Borrow to invest. Yes. So motivation. So my wife and I in 2003 got married. I mean, 2005 we got married. But in 2003 had written a financial plan of the goals we wanted to achieve. I would say most of them were achieved a bit earlier than we thought. And that's because it was fairly directed and both of us were pulling in the same direction. We are very aligned. So what happens is when it comes to motivation, write down the goals and have them agreed with somebody who is an accountability partner. It also allows you to align to what resources should be doing. I have a lot of things that can distract me, and I am sure they would be very entertaining, very interesting. I can have the best drinks. I can enjoy doing everything. But I was able to figure I want to build, I want to go to this company, I want to have this education. The fact that I directed that those are the things that are important to me, and I tested around what you call the SMART goals. Specific, I was able to say specifically what do we want, measurable, exactly in what volume do you want this. But I also wanted to make sure it's much as it's a bit stretched, it's also achievable. So I wanted to make sure that I don't demotivate myself by saying I want the yacht. It make me a gangster, and then that's not a good thing. If I put it in such a short term, 20 years, 30 years down the road, I could have it. That is a good, achievable target. You want to make it realistic in that it is within what can be done in your space. However, realistic is also relevant. Relative to different people. There are some people who can do bigger things and opportunity can come. However, keep it realistic, but leave the door open for surprises even to yourself. Hey, you never know. A long-lost relative could come and tell you want something, and then you say, I knew when these resources come, I will do this, so that you're not overwhelmed. But put what is realistic within your space. And it should also be time-bound. You should say, I want this within this time. The demotivation comes when the time is too long and I'm not interested. Do I know whether I'll be alive or not? So it should be around the SMART acronym, and it will keep you motivated. That is the way to motivate yourself. So the motivation should be something you really want specifically, not what other people want. Make sure it is about you. That is what will keep you on the tab, on the, working 9 to 5 and committed for years because you know what you want, not what anybody else wants to achieve. That's a good thing, but what do you want? And write it down so that, it's attainable within your lifetime and it will make you happy. I hope that addresses part of it. But the other thing is too much house, right. Too much car. Yeah. We were talking about the too much house and too much car, too much school. What happens is in my office, I suspect in your office, you'll find people who've been to Harvard, people who've been to, some other local university, I would say in Kenya, Strathmore. I've been, University of Nairobi, but even further out, maybe a technical university, you'll find all these people in your office. Now, the reality is some parents, some people have taken more resources than necessary to educate their children into 2, 3, 4, 5 degrees. And they've left themselves flat broke, right? And then the kids pack up and go and live happily ever after, maybe somewhere else. Leave yourself some room so that you can be left with some resources. And understand that giving your child education is part of the leverage, but not all of it. They will need to achieve some things themselves. Similarly, I see people with too much house. You're 2 people in a 7-bedroom house in a very good neighborhood. Or you're in a very good neighborhood when right now it doesn't matter where you live. You just need to be somewhere. There's nobody coming to visit you and condemn you. People actually don't really care. But you take too much to be somebody who people don't really, they're not struggling with you. If you lived in section A or B, yeah, maybe somebody will comment, but it will not stop your life. So you put all your resources in the house next to your, direct reports, direct boss's house or direct somebody, and their salary is 5 times yours. That's too much house. Are you within your means? If you're not within your means, you have too much of an obligation. Too much school, too much house, too much car. Too much car, obviously, I remember Mr. Rotich was my boss one time in one company, and he told me, Alex, if you start with what's this car called? A Vitz, you'll end up with a Range Rover. But if you start at an SUV, you will end up walking. So you should order your steps. There should be order around relating with how much of luxury should I have in relation to my income. So what I say is that luxury should be afforded from your investment income. If your investments are generating enough money to afford you the luxury, you have achieved that goal. You can live in it. But if you are living in a rental house and driving a Range Rover and paying school in private school, annual fees is in the millions, then you need to manage that space, because very soon you'll find you are overwhelmed by stress because there's too much of everything taking your resources and leaving you with little for yourself. There is the question of borrowing to invest. And I say these things with a lot of kindness regarding, too much of anything, because people should live, but also make sure you have left enough for tomorrow and in a controlled manner. There's also borrow to invest. Borrow to invest is a good concept. That is what you call leverage. If, for example, I have a family circle that lends at a fairly affordable rate, I would say 6%. And, the treasury bond is currently at, 18%. We have various instruments. I'm sure, if you go to your Sacco here, they've got some solutions which are attractive. Now, if you can invest in real estate, you borrow to invest in real estate. The same way you can borrow to invest in a fixed income security. I think that's the question. And if the security is giving you 18, 20%, and the cost of borrowing is, I don't know, 6, 10%, you are able to, let me complicate the word, arbitrage, make a gap income of about 10 all the way to 12%. Why not? As long as where you put the money can be able to afford where you got the money from, then you are leveraging. If it doesn't make that kind of sense, that one is not a good investment decision. I think that is what I would answer to those first questions. Anne.
Great. That is very elaborate. So our next 3 questions. Someone is asking, can you explain with examples the difference between leverage and normal debt? Is it advisable to build a house for your parents? Does that count as overcommitment? How does one handle black tax? The third one, financial advice for 29-year-old earning from part-time jobs, single, no kids, still living in parents' property, meaning not paying rent, surplus of 20K per month. What to do? The fourth one, after my savings, education fund and fixed expenses, I have a surplus of 25K. How do I do it? How do I do with it? Okay, those 3, I think the third one and the fourth one are more or less the same. So those are 3, 5 minutes at most, please.
Brilliant. Okay. I think we talked about the leverage. Leverage is essentially what helps you leg up. So you get resources from elsewhere, which help you build a margin. So I said you could find, you have taken from the Sacco $1 million, 2, 5, 10 million. You bought an asset. An asset is an income generating vehicle. So you need to make sure it's not just some dormant thing, it's income generating. So I took $1 million, I took 200,000, I took 10 million. I bought something, I did something that generates for me. If I took $1 million, I now, when I pay back whatever it is I borrowed, I'm left with a certain margin. Maybe I make 100,000, 200,000. That's leverage, 300,000. Having deducted the principal I took and the interest payments and any fees because of arrangements, I was left with 200,000 and plus even tax I paid. That is leverage. It helps you earn an extra 200,000 that you didn't have. But because of your good name, you are given the resources by the Sacco, which allowed you to get 200,000, 2 million, 10 million extra that you didn't have because you used your name and the resources and your pay slip to build this extra resource that you didn't have. That's leverage, right? And you're not just consuming, you're building another asset. So I hope that's understood. Normal debt is where people just take money. I go buy sofas. I go buy, a nice holiday. And at the end of the day, I have to keep paying from my payslip money, which there is no other line of income supporting what I am now paying out because I just consumed and now I have to pay. And painfully going to explain, hey, listen, it's constraining me and those kind of things. Let's readjust. Ideally, you should leverage. That means make more that after you have paid off and you are able to pay off because of the income you're getting from this leverage you got, then you are left with an asset. Now, building for parents is definitely within your expectations, especially as Africa. If you're in Europe, that's not a big question because affording a house is kind of for everyone. In Africa, of course, building a house for your parents is one, because they may not be able to borrow themselves because they educated you. So maybe that was their only investment. The people who believe their investment is their children's education because it will give a return of a house. So it is expected that you may do that because they invested in you. So how do you do that? That does not mean you nyima yourself. It means you order yourself. When can you do it? How much can you do it? Am I the only child? So you need to control what is within your ability. Don't overstretch yourselves. I'm sorry to say, parents have options. They have other children and those kind of things. You may not have options because you have your children. So make sure whatever you do is within control. Don't be, what's the word? Don't be pushed into a corner to make decisions which somebody else is left comfortable and you are left uncomfortable. It should be an agreeable space. Now, you can, however, do that, or you can encourage them to think of, why can't we convert some dormant asset, like a plot you have elsewhere, and use that cash to build or something else? Or can we invest some money for 3 years somewhere or do something that will eventually sell and be able to build? So talk to us. There are options. Talk to the SACCO. We can think about some options. And it is a good thing. It's a blessing, but it should not fix you in a corner. If you do not have the resources, ask for the time so that you are able to maneuver. I think that relates to black tax, because really it's where parents expect you to manage their expenses, their medical, their everything. Try to also use risk management solutions to manage that, things like medical. I'm currently dealing with somebody who the bill is fairly significant. You have to fundraise. That's an African thing. But there's insurance. You're better off insuring your parents than, calling your relatives every now and then for, medical emergencies and other emergencies. So we have, products which have what you call seniors cover and those kind of things. We can have discussions around that to avoid it coming from your pocket regularly. And you can look at how assets are being held and use the assets, invest them in an instrument, a bond, something in the SACCO, get income, which annually pays for the medical. That's what we really work around, so that it's not painfully coming from your payslip. I have a little time, so let me go to the next question. What do you do if you have a surplus of 20, 25K? If you're younger, this is a great thing that you even have a surplus, because what you are in a stage of life that we call the accumulate stage. We will discuss this in various investment options. But for you first need to define your goals. Before you do anything with the money, define your goals so that is the 20K first going to be invested to cover maybe my 3-month emergency, or X month emergency? Do I have that? If I have the emergency funds and everything covered, am I clear how I manage my operational expenditure? I suspect if you're saying you have a surplus, you know that. So we are either dealing with contingency portfolio or your growth portfolio. Now, for contingency, you need to figure, I have covered 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. Once you've done that, you need to go to your growth portfolio. How much do I want to achieve in the future? Now, if it is a very aggressive goal, then we need to look at where can we get the highest return over time. Some of those things are simple. I could start partnering with somebody who's already managing something because I may not have the time. I could invest in something which has a regular investment income regularly, so that I put my 20,000 every month. In a year, that's 240. In another 10 years, that's 2.4 million. Plus interest means maybe I will end up at 5, 6 to 8 million. If you come to Moran, you never know, that might be 10 million. So if you look at that space and then you even go to the SACCO and leverage the amount that you're having, you never know. It could translate that 20K you are saving helped you build a portfolio of 20, 30, 40 million. It is all about first principles. Have a clear process. Make sure you have professionals. Make sure you have goals that are tangible, and you can discuss with somebody who can help you structure an attainable strategy. So the 25 or 20 could mean the world of a difference. So you start by, do we have contingency? Great. If it is growth, I don't know. I could start by doing a butchery. Buy 5 of those Boxer motorcycles that, people earn 3,000 every day, and the motorcycle cost 90,000. Meaning, if I'm earning 3,000 a day times 30 days, could be 90, could be 60,000. So if I have 3 of them and I am paying, I don't know, 3,000 every month or 5,000 every month to the SACCO to be able to buy that vehicle, the motorbike, or put up a butchery, or I can start investing in somebody else's business. That means in another 3 to 5 years, I am running, and the SACCO has the resources. Banks have the resources. All you need is a strategy. And that strategy, if it is bankable, you will make money. The 20,000 will just be your starting, but you will have a very good space to work towards. So, and I would probably stop there. But if that person wanted to have a bit more conversation, I can definitely sit down. We have done this and created options for people. They started ice cream shops in various areas, and now they are opening franchises. And it started from 20, 30,000. So, don't be limited. Yes, don't be limited. Safaricom, I think, has an unlimited bundle. Join that group. Yeah.
All right. On our next question.
Okay.
How would you advise someone who is starting life on managing finances? This is after getting the first job. I think we've handled that.
Okay.
What does planning for generational wealth and its management entail to ensure it gets to at least your children's children and hopefully further down the line? Where can one start from?
Mm-hmm.
That's number one. Is
Okay.
Moran Capital open to first generation clients starting to create wealth but no structure? There's a notion that financial advice is available to the already rich. I think you've also answered this, that you can take us through. You have people who started with 20,000 and they're now opening franchises everywhere. So that you've answered.
Mm-hmm.
Are insurance policies a good way to save, invest, like protection for the future, e.g., education policies, and endowment plans, etc.? You can answer that. How do I balance off loss of income from monthly allowances due to changes in my job, e.g., car allowance, house allowance, etc., that I had factored when taking a mortgage? That's number two. What are the fee structure for your services? And number three, concerning the fee structure for your services, I think after this session, tomorrow we'll be able to share a link with you members. On that link, you'll be able to get details on how to reach Moran Capital. And in case you want to engage them further, because so that you can get more information, or you can get deeper information on these topics that we'll be covering going forward. So answer those two questions. Then now we can go to the chat. We have around 2 at the chat session. Then we finish. So I'm giving you 5 minutes, please, so that you can finish at 5:30. 5 minutes to answer those ones. Then we go to chat session.
Thank you, Anne, and thank you to those who have asked those questions. They are very reflective. I thank you for that. So generational wealth actually talks about all the assets that one has accumulated. These are stocks of companies, properties, cash in bank, anything of value, essentially, being passed on to your next generation, your children. Now, I have to tell you that generational wealth, transferring generational wealth, while most people think it's property, I have to tell you it is wisdom. So there is something we call a compounding effect. I'm sure you've heard of compounding interest, but the most explosive tool in generational wealth building is compounding knowledge. What you know that helped you make money should be communicated to your next generation such that the minimum they start with is where you left. If you left with the knowledge worth $1 billion, they should have the capacity to create 2, because they know the minimum they know is the plans that you set up. How did I start? What did I do? How did I negotiate prices? Who is our connect? How do we manage taxes here? Who is our connect in managing taxes? Who is our guy who helps us with the loan at the bank? Who is our guy who helps us with finding opportunity? Who is our link for travel that can give us finance opportunities? Those kind of things are what transferring wealth really should be about. Transferring money is one thing, but if you transfer money to a fool, we don't know who's the fool. So the reality is you want to transfer a wealth of knowledge, because knowledge, whether you take it to Moscow in the freezing area or you take it to the desert, it will still create value. So transferring generational wealth when you want to start is early as possible. So the reality is you want to start giving knowledge as early as possible, such that when you give money or assets or stocks, somebody knows what to do with it. They understand the pain of what it took for you to get there. They understand the passion and the purpose, the vision. So they'll not be affected by what we call affluenza. Too much into too little knowledge. Too much wealth fed to too much little knowledge creates affluenza. That's a disease of the rich situations. And people find themselves in rehab and other places to remove the flood of wealth that has been created in the body as compared to in the bank. And it's a sad affair. But we hope that anybody here now will not suffer, or your generations will not suffer, because you will educate them. You will let them know, what did it take to make this money? I had a plan, we had budgets, we worked, we had family summits, we conversed. This will come up in our estate planning discussion. So let me not extend that too much. But it's important to have a discussion. Now, insurance policies are important. By the way, if you're employed and you plan to work for a while, you're not going to side hustle and do everything. Your side hustle is insurance. Because from the day you start paying for a life insurance cover for education or for your endowment, that means in 10 years, we are going to pay you some amount. If you die in the middle, because nature has the habit of interrupting your plans, you can be sure we'll pay your family some money. So in the event you are not side hustling, or you don't have a rich relative who left you resources, you need to have life insurance yesterday, because that assures your family your dreams can be realized in the event you personally are not there to do them. Whether you become disabled, the kind of things life interrupts you with, you will be taken care of, because your family's objectives will be covered, because you'll be paid out by insurance companies, either to continue educating your children or to provide for your spouse through a life insurance cover and education policies, the endowments. We will talk about this in risk management. How do you restructure in case you have loss of income? Communicate with the with the lender. The moment you tell them some circumstances have changed, even let me tell you, wherever you get money from, they report somewhere. They have something called provision for non-performing loans. Now, instead of them struggling with a non-performing loan because you can't pay because of some circumstances, if you tell them, can we restructure this from a 5-year, 10-year to a 15-year mortgage, the repayment will reduce that you can afford. And therefore, the possibility you default is not really now a concern. But it needs to be a clear, honest conversation. They're not going to take it just lying down, but you need to tell them, listen, the opportunity is both of us fail or both of us succeed. And this means you have to allow me to stretch this amount. I'll be able to pay it because it's within comfort. And this is what has happened. These are the change in circumstances. Can you restructure for me? But, we know the government has done that. Corporates do that all the time. So why not you go and ujitete na useme, listen, my friend, GDP ya Kenya imeanguka. So can we restructure this loan or something else? I have to get either that or I get somebody to consolidate it. Yet, because we are going to discuss debt, I don't want to delve too much into it, but there are solutions for it. If you need the solution earlier, we can have a chat. Chat us on the side. We are going to leave contacts there. We can figure how you can reorganize yourself and get some breathing space. Regarding our fee structure, Anne has said that You will see it in the discussions, but it should be nothing to put you off. We are determined to make our African brothers and sisters as successful as the West with the knowledge that we have and the opportunities such as with the SACCOs. So we will have those conversations, but they should be very, very affordable. You will wonder why you have not come to us so far. Thus far. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you, Alex. Someone is saying, what a wonderful conversation today. Thank you very much. So we are at the chat. I just want to read out. I think we have 2 questions here. One is very lengthy. 3. Okay. Let's start with the lengthy one. From the list of mistakes, if one has already committed the mistake, what can be the remedies? Because financial issues are a big contributor to mental health. Number 2, most of the mistakes one gets involved in them by very close unavoidable family members, e.g. wife, and this can even lead to family breakup. What is the wisdom in handling of this despite counseling? The philosophy of joint account in marriage, does that work in healthy financial well-being? That is the lengthy question. Now we go to the number 2. What is the procedure and cost involved to seek the services of financial investment advisors? I think this member is referring to you, Moran Capital. There's a fear that wealth management is only for the already established. Is Moran open to first-generation clients trying to get structure but have know-how? Okay, number 3, financial advice for 29-year-old part-time. Oh, this one we've answered.
Yes.
It was posted on the Q&A. My biggest dilemma is whether to clear existing debts, then save. I have soft debts higher than my surplus. I have just need to have the resources and materials shared via email. Okay, this we will share the recording tomorrow.
Yes.
I think those are the 2 questions we have, Alex. You can can handle those ones, then we call it a day.
Thank you, Anne. I'll do my best. I think, yeah, I mean, crisis is crisis. If it has happened in the family, the one thing that I find is that there's always a solution. By the way, let me put it that way, there's always a solution. There's not a problem that has come to us or has been provided in other circles. I'm sure the same thing with the SACCO, maybe those are things that we know. There's no solution that cannot be provided to you. The question is, have you sought the solution? The only thing is that we are captive to our knowledge and think there is no answer outside the knowledge I have. By the way, there is knowledge. Folks have gone to the moon. Folks have gone to the Mars. Your problem can be solved. I'm not saying it's small, but there are, when I have complicated issues and I consult widely in the right places, I find a solution. So the question is the aggression with which you find yourself looking for a solution, partly putting the issue on the table in the household so that everybody is aware of what the problem is. Now, it sounds fairly, exposing yourself, but the strongest animal is a lion. It walks in the savannah with the elephants who are bigger than it, giraffes, bigger than it, rhinos, stronger, everyone, but it walks because it's like, I have to be in control of what's going on. I don't mind whether you're bigger or smarter, faster. I just need to sort my issue out. Now, put the issue on the table, whether it is you walk to Moran and we talk about it, don't be shy. You should be like, if you guys can't sort this, point me to who can sort it out if it is an issue. So just because you created or found yourself in a mess does not mean you're the only one who's interested in solving it. Hey, look, we solve problems. That's what we do. So find us. We can obviously direct you. If it's complicated at our level, for example, it's a legal issue, we'll point you out to the people who can help you out. So there should really be nothing stopping you other than your aggression to find a solution. Secondly, for those things that, especially in families where people find that, you've talked and people are not doing what is agreed, put it in a parenting agreement, what we call a shared parenting agreement or an SPA. That means the person who's held accountable will sign and say they understand. A lot of times, even I forget what I was responsible for. Was I the one who was to pick the children in school? Was I the one who was to pay electricity? Who pays for the mortgage? Who pays for the, for little Johnny's, who does what? Some of those things are not agreed. So you find that in the family, everybody imagines somebody else was to make the decision. You come home, you find food on the table. You never ask yourself, this person who put food on the table, when did they shop? When did they do this? You never ask yourself, what does it take for the person who brings home the bacon? What does it take? So a lot of times these things are not discussed. Everybody thinks about their corner, but not putting issues on the table. What's disturbing me and how do we manage it? And what's the process? When do we pay? When do we do these things? Guys just go on dates and they love each other and they stare at each other, but they don't ask difficult questions. When I go on dates and I bring out ice cream, just know if you see me eating ice cream, the questions my wife is asking, they need to, I need to cool down myself with something palatable, because difficult questions are being asked. Yes, you said we are going to achieve this by now. So now, what has stopped you? Don't give me funny excuses. And on that day, I know I am in a board meeting. So I answer questions like I'm in a board meeting in a corporate. I don't tell my wife, hey, who do you think you are to ask me these questions? Let her ask, because otherwise, very soon, we'll have a wound that cannot be healed. So for me, I say, throw them out. I go and gear myself up. I armor myself with ice cream and I deal with the shares. I deal with the issues that are shared out to me. So that is the way to deal with those issues. If there are mistakes, own up to them and fix how to remedy them, is to say, this was the error, this is the way out, and we have agreed the way out. Joint accounts could or could not work. What you are to know is this joint responsibility. Now, whether you use a joint account or you use your own account, you must agree our income in the household is 200,000, 100,000, 2 million, 10 million, whatever it is. What are the obligations? Who earns what? And what have we agreed? What does dad pay for? What does mommy pay for? Is it from their joint resources? Whether they are in the same account, they are joint resources. So you just have to agree. What are the expenditures? There's a budget. Who meets what? Their contingencies, their operational expenditures, and their gross expenditure. Who's meeting what? If I'm meeting growth and you're meeting operational and contingency, remember the day we go to court, court will want to know contributions in the household, not just in the one you care about in the household. So you might want to ask, what are the total expenses? Because you are involved in them. And then, of course, you want to make sure that you are contributing to how they are being managed. So the resources may not be in this joint account, but the responsibilities are joint and must be met from joint household resources, wherever they are in whoever's account. So joint account is a matter of establishing trust. And those kind of things are very, very important, primarily. I think the other issue here was having, you have less of a surplus, you have more to pay on debt. What you need is a term called consolidation. You need to consolidate your debt and or reduce your expenses, even some of the comfortable ones. You might need to take a step down from maybe even where you live. Agree that maybe my rent currently is 30, 50, 100, 200. Can I take a house which is 20% less to release the cash that I need to sort out the issue temporarily, not forever? Hey, we want you to be comfortable. But for you to be well, I am going to move back to my parents' house for 3 months, 1 year, and tell everybody, this is what I am doing. This is my decision. I need to fix this situation. Yes, I stepped into it. I will fix it, and then I will get back on track. Don't suffer because you cannot communicate or there's shame. Get over yourself, get out of your way, and move forward. So that is my comment on how to manage that. Don't my problem. And I would put a hard stop there just to make sure I don't overindulge and lose people.
I think so. And we are very grateful. We have actually spent 40 minutes more. So I think today has been the most wonderful session. And I want to thank members for joining this session today. So just a recap on what we've discussed today. We will be able to share the link tomorrow, the recording of this session tomorrow. Members, you can go through it, and those who have not joined us or those who have joined late will be able to go through it. And with that link, it will come with another link from Moran Capital, where we will be asking you to voluntarily engage them. And you'll be able to answer maybe questions that we'll have on that link until next session. So thank you very much, Alex and Sarah and members for joining this wonderful session. Have a good evening. Please don't miss on the next session because this is a continuation of what we have lined up for you this year. Thank you very much, Alex, unless you have something to say.
No, just sharing my gratitude as always, Anne, because we are in a joint obligation to make sure members are much better. They utilize the resources which are available at the SACCO level. Come talk to us as a professional. We'll help you so that you can intersect questions around how do I fund and those things. We are able to tackle those issues together. So, do not feel there is a limit. There's no glass ceiling. There's just information that may not have come to you, and we are very willing to share that information. So thank you for the opportunity to talk to your members as well. And thank you for those who joined. Invite others, refer others. The way to dilute your own risks is to make sure everybody is educated so that they don't look to you. You also, you can look to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, members. Bye. Have a good evening or good afternoon, depending on where you joined the session from. See you.
Thank you.